Hi everyone, I'm Francesca Tottarello, and I'll be talking the Italian style liberty of Art Nouveau beginning in the late 1880s and early 900s. We'll be talking about passionate leaders, graphic designers, and ways they promoted this new art and viewing some gallery images. So starting off with the passionate leaders, we have Gaetano Previti's painting Materna, which was the first symbolist painting, and the fluidity of the brush strokes are considered like the first whiplash lines emergence in Italy. So very important because it influenced creators to come. And then we have Giuseppe Salminong, and he's an architect, and he is coined to be the true creator of the Town Liberty style in architecture with his use of bandages and the Florinel ornamentation style. And he influenced a whole wave of architects of the time. But jumping to graphic designers with Huyssen, Adolf Huyssen. He was born in Germany, a painter, advertiser, illustrator. He was an art director in Milan at Riccardi, and he was called the father of poster design because he was just so prolific, and he was linked to the German style of Art Nouveau, the Joinsten, meaning youth style, and he just influenced a lot of graphic designers of the time, including Marcello Domovich, because he was trained by Leopoldo Mitsovitz, and he was Huyssen's pupil, but he trained Domovich. And Domovich was born in Italy, along with a graphic designer who's painter, advertiser, illustrator, and lithographer. And he also worked in Milan and Riccardi, and he's one of the top poster designers of this time. And then we have Leonetto Capullo, and he was also born in Italy, a painter, advertiser, and poster designer. He wasn't formally trained, which is pretty cool considering the time, and he also worked at Milan at Riccardi. He was so prolific, just for one client, he designed over 120 posters at Riccardi, and his influence didn't stop at Art Nouveau, Liberty style in Italy. He continued to be called the father of modern advertising. And how they promoted this new art was through the Riccardi advertising firm in Milan, because in 1889, they started to produce advertisings for industry and commerce, because prior to this, it was only for the music industry, and this just made the style available and consumed by more and more people. This is also was promoted through the first monthly art journal called Emporium, was first published in 1895, and this was just filled with catalogs, documentation, ideas, but it was photo dominant, and it was chock full of examples of the Italian Liberty style that promoted these ideals and spread it throughout Italy. And now we'll look at some gallery images. We'll look at Huyssen's on the far right, and we see the traditional muted colors, the blocked out colors, and it's very ambiguous because none of the figures are looking at the viewer. And then to the left, we have Domovich's Bitters poster, also in 1901. And this classic diagonal composition is very suggestive. And what's really fun about this, it has hints of chiaroscuro. It's a light treatment, popular in the Renaissance, and this was a very stylized version of it, but I think it's important since he was from Italy. Now to this slide, which shows the contrast of like how much this style changed in its brief time. On the left, we have Bristoffi's poster, and it's way more rendered, but still has the traditional natural elements of cherry blossoms, and it's very whimsical but ambiguous because only one person's engaged with the viewer with those whiplash lines. And then in contrast, an even more stylized version with whiplash lines in the forms of curvature of the cloth, and it's like just a very ambiguous stylized version of an equestrian portrait, but still with those main elements of the Italian Liberty style by Capullo. Now moving to Giuseppe. as I mentioned, Solomon Gong was like the main person in the architecture, and we can see why, because these are those bandages I mentioned earlier, those high reliefs. These look like cherubs, and then there's like figures of women down here, and they really break up the geometric elements of a building with these high reliefs. And this is in the beginning of this time period in 1901. And then we look at Placiano Comi. He also designed this building in 1906, and it's way more rendered out, and the reliefs aren't as high, but they still have those bandages framing the windows and the balcony, and that's just very traditional, and they're done in that florid ornamentational style with vines, fruits, that are linked, like kind of like the architecture's way of those whiplash lines, because there's like intertwining lines within it. So that's some architecture of this style. And now this is my works cited. Thank you for listening. Bye.